Well, folks, I'm going to show you guys a clip, and I do believe this is the most ridiculous clip I've ever played. And I know that's saying a lot. I know it is, because we have covered Trump and all of his unhinged rallies, his battery and shark, and all the crazy ramblings that he's went on. And we've covered Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert. They never fail to give us material. But this one here is ridiculous to me for this reason. It's one thing to have these politicians and these grifters out there that are just trying to sell something to people, and they know that the audience is dumb enough to buy it. It's another thing when people sits back and watches them do it and then comes up with ways to put a spin on it for them. That's something in and of itself. And this next clip, originally Joe Biden was Sleepy Joe Biden. He was stumbling Joe Biden. He was stuttering Joe. He was falling down Joe. When he came out and smoked him at the State of the Union address, they had to change the narrative to now he's jacked up Joe. And it's one thing to say that he might get a shot in the ass from a doctor or whatever, but this guy says that they might be jacking Joe Biden up on Mountain Dew. Take a look at this.
Any patient that truly, or elderly individual or someone that has dementia, they can find some moments of clarity, right? They can find moments throughout the day that they have energy. And I think that Trump's team should not underestimate Joe Biden and his team's ability to whether they're going to jack him up on Mountain Dew or whatever it is. That look, the State of the Union this year, he had a lot of energy for about an hour or an hour and a half. But it doesn't mean, what we're seeing is obviously throughout the day that he can't carry that level of energy.
He actually said Mountain Dew, folks. A guy actually said into a live microphone in 2024 on live television, they might have him jacked up on Mountain Dew. That has got to be the dumbest, most uneducated thing that I have ever heard in my life. I lost my close uncle Brad that I love so good. I've talked about him here on the channel. I lost him to dementia, and I lost a really close friend to dementia. And if I thought for 1 second that all I had to do was just run to the store and get them a Mountain Dew, trust me, I would have took them cases of it to bring them back. That is so idiotic. And this idea that, oh yeah, well, they have this moment of clarity where they come back to themselves. Yeah, that's true. But I promise you, there is no way that I could have took them a Mountain Dew and got them ready for a debate they were going to have on Thursday. There's no way that I could have did that and then timed it for 9 p.m. Eastern or whatever the hell time it is. You're going to come back to yourself right there. This Mountain Dew I'm going to give you is going to bring you back to yourself at 9 o'clock sharp. It doesn't happen that way, and it's so insulting to anyone who has ever lost anyone to dementia, to everyone who's ever struggled with it. It's one of the most brutal things to watch. And when I would go around my uncle or my friend, the one thing that would always go through my head is, I just hope they remember me. I hope that I walk away from them and they knew who I was, So the last time I saw one of my dear friends, he remembered me. He knew who I was. And then his mind kind of drifted back to us being in the bar rooms together. And we had a really good conversation about that. And I just went with it. I just rolled with him. When he went there, I just rolled with it. If I could have bought him a Mountain Dew and kept him around longer, I sure as hell would have. But it's so insulting to everybody who's ever dealt with it. I don't know why the right has such an obsession with demonizing people that have struggled with dementia and demonizing people on drugs. But that's their favorite pastime, is to sit and throw stones at people suffering from dementia and people who are suffering from addiction. They love to just sit back and throw stones at that. I have sat back and watched them ridicule Hunter Biden so much, and as a recovering addict myself, it always just disgusts me so deeply that they do this, because they don't understand the hard work that it takes to stay clean. It's one thing to hear someone say, I've been clean for 8 years. That's easy to say. The easiest thing, you could just say, I've been clean for 8 years. You can say it, you can make a nice Facebook post about it, and everyone will chime in to say, good job, unless you're Hunter Biden. Everyone will chime in to say, good job, way to go. But they don't realize the hard work that went into that statement. That's an easy statement to make, but there's a lot of hard work that goes into it. What I had to learn the hard way was that the cravings are never going to go away. Once you get yourself trained and you get your brain trained in a certain kind of lifestyle, it's very hard to just turn around one day and flip that switch off. You can go to rehab and you can get clean, but staying clean's the challenge. Because when you come out of there, now you're back in the real world, and all the crutches you used to use to help prop yourself up, you don't have those anymore. I got in a routine for several years as a musician. This was my routine. I'd go out to the bar, I'd have a couple of beers to kind of to relax and kind of start to unwind, because really, folks, when I'm not in front of this camera, I'm a quiet, laid-back dude. I don't really have much to say to anybody, and so alcohol was always my social lubricant. It was always a way for me to kind of loosen up and talk and laugh with people. Well, then I would, pop me a pill to perk myself up, and sometimes I would take it a notch higher and do some cocaine. I'm just being straight with you. And that would jack me up and get me through the show, and I would be in my zone. I could remember every word to every song, hit every note and every guitar solo I was supposed to play. And I felt like I was king shit of fuck mountain, you know, I really did. That's the thing they don't tell you either. They don't tell you, you know, growing up in the 80s, back in the 80s when I was a kid, they used to talk about, you know, it was during the Nancy Reagan era, just say no to drugs. And they would show you these people who had hit rock bottom, but the part they never really told you was that when you do it, it feels really good. And it did. It felt great. You felt like you was Superman. You could just run through a wall. Well, you're jacked up, the show's over, now you got to go to bed. Okay, well, how am I going to wind down? Well, you start taking something like a Xanax or a Valium to bring yourself down. Then you wake up the next morning with your head just thumping on your pillow. Sometimes your heart's over here racing, feels like it's laying beside your head. And you're sitting there in such misery that you reach over and take some more Xanaxes to fall back asleep. Well, if you get into that pattern of doing that, it's very hard to break that pattern to this very day. I did it this morning. I woke up at like 5 o'clock in the morning. I was just wide awake, just looking at the ceiling. And the minute I looked at the ceiling and realized, crap, I can't fall back asleep, the first thought that went through my head was reach for those Xanaxes. But I couldn't. I had to stay away from it. I got to stay away from it. And so for anyone out there that thinks, oh, it's easy, just don't do it. Just don't do it. I'd say to you, don't look at your phone. How many of you are just in a habit of staring at your phone? How many people do you know just sits and stares at their phone 24/7? Okay, if it's so easy, don't stare at your phone. Just don't pick it up, don't look at it. Put it in your dresser drawer and walk away. Go to town without it. Go grocery shopping without it. Go eat without it, because we know you love to take pictures of your food and post it online. Go eat. I'm not trying to make a joke out of this, folks. It's dead serious. It's a hard struggle and hard work. And for whatever reason, Republicans want to demonize that kind of thing. For whatever reason, they get enjoyment out of belittling people like that. And in any other world, Hunter Biden would be praised. In any other world, people would be like, way to go, Hunter. So glad you stay clean. We hope you make it. But they sit back and demonize the guy, and it's as though they want him to fail. They want him to fall off the wagon so they can have a story about it. It's so sick and twisted. I wouldn't wish that on anybody. Anytime someone says I've been clean for this amount of time, I'm always like, way to go, good job, keep it up. I'm pulling for you. I hope you make it. You know, I would say that to anybody. I would say that to the biggest Trump supporter out there. If you're a Trump supporter and you've made it to this point in the video and you're still here hanging with me, even though you're probably mad at a lot of the shit I've said, if you're out there, you're a Trump supporter and you're struggling to stay clean, I hope you make it. And I'm not going to be over here belittling you, and I'm not going to be telling you to take a case of Mountain Dew to your uncle who has dementia, because that's just some of the lowest blows, and they just keep hitting them. And they're going to keep hitting them because it's all they got. And it's truly disgusting, truly sad. But we'll just keep sitting here calling it out, folks, because at the end of the day, we're on the right side of history. For everybody that gets discouraged, just remember, we're on the right side of history. And we just have to stick with it. We have to keep fighting and just keep speaking the truth, because they're not going to quit. They're not going to back down. But we can't back down either. We can't get discouraged. We can't allow stupid people and unhinged people and just sick and twisted people who wants to make fun of drug addicts and dementia patients. We can't let those people win at the end of the day. We can't let them have this one. It's not their fight to win. There's too many people. I lost too many friends along the way to drugs, and friends and family to dementia. I've lost too many along the way to let those bastards win this one.